We're going to continue graphing piecewise functions. Remember, when we're graphing a piecewise function, what we want to do is we want to start with our domain. Our domain starts at 2, so our first ordered pair is going to be 2. We're going to take the 2 and plug it in, but notice that this is a -1. There's no x, so it's always going to be a -1. So 2, -1 is our first point. Now remember, when we go to -1, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be putting an open circle. It's an open circle because there's no line underneath. Now, since it's greater than 2, we're going to pick a point greater than 2. And so a point greater than 2 would be 3. We're going to take the 3 and we're going to plug it in. Notice that it's still -1. So that means our next point is 3, -1. Since it's a linear equation, we're drawing a straight line. And that right there is the first part of our piecewise function. Now, looking at the second part of our piecewise function. Once again, we're starting at 2. We're going to take the 2 and we're going to plug it in. 2 times 2 is 4, minus 1 is 3. So we have 2, 3. This time it's a closed circle. Since it's less than or equal to, we're going to go to the left of 2. So we can pick 1 or 0 or -1, anything to the left. I'm going to plug in the 1. Now when I plug in the 1, 2 times 1 gives me 2, minus 1 is 1. So 1, 1 is my next point. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw my straight line. Now, looking at letter E, once again, what we're going to do is we're going to start with our domain. Our domain is -1. So we're putting our first point as -1. We take the -1, we plug it in. 3 times -1 is -3. So -1 and -3 is my first point. I'm putting a closed circle. Once again, the reason that it's closed is because there's a line underneath. Now I'm going to pick a point that's less than -1. So I'm going to pick -2. If I plug in a -2, that gives me -6. Now -6 is below, so I'm just going to go in that direction, and I'm drawing a straight line. Letter E, we're doing the same thing. I'm starting at -1. I take the -1 and I plug it in. This is a little bit more difficult because it's a fraction. So when I plug in a -1, negative negative is a positive, so this is 2/3 plus 2 is 2 and 2/3. So at -1 and 2 and 2/3, I have an open circle. Now I'm going to pick a point to the right. 0 is an easy one. So I'm going to plug 0 in. 0 times -2/3 is 0, plus 2 is 2. So 0, 2 is my next point. Once again, it's a linear equation, so I'm drawing a straight line. And that right there is my piecewise function. Now, looking at letter F. Once again, just like the other ones, I'm going to start with my domain. My domain is 1, so I'm going to start with 1. When I plug in a 1, 3 minus 1 is 2. So that means that I'm going to plot the point 1, 2. Notice it's an open circle, and the reason that it's an open circle is because this is not equal to, it's just greater than. Now I need a number greater than 1, so I'm going to pick 2. When I plug in a 2, 3 minus 2 is 1, so I have 2, 1. It's a linear equation, so I'm drawing a straight line. If we look at our next equation, what we see is this is a quadratic. It has a squared right here. We're going to do the same thing as the linears. We're starting with 1. When we plug in a 1, 1 squared is 1, but there's a negative. So that's negative 1. Plus 3 is 2. So at 1, 2, I have a closed circle. Notice it's the same point. Whenever we have the same point, all we do is we fill in the open circle. So they share a same point. We're going to pick a point to the left of 1, which would be 0. If we plug in a 0, 0 is a really nice, easy one. 0 squared is 0. That's negative 0 plus 3 is 3. So 0, 3 is our next point. Now remember, with quadratics, we need more than 2 points. 2 points make a straight line, but 2 points do not make a quadratic. So I'm going to pick another point. I'm going to pick negative 1. When I plug in a negative 1, negative 1 squared is 1, but there's a negative here. So that's negative 1. Plus 3 is 2. So it's going up. That's our vertex. Then it goes down. And that right there is my piecewise function.